Hey guys, we got a great episode today. We got a lot of professionals here at the table. If you're buying a house, if you're looking for a mortgage, if you're looking for a realtor, we can answer some of those questions. This is the podcast called The Real LLC, Lake, Life, and Culture. We got Brittany here. She's a realtor here in Lake County. She's my sister. She's amazing what she does. And then we've got Cole here with Mortgage Financial. So we'll go ahead and kick this thing started. Brittany, go ahead.
I'm super excited to have Cole on the show today because he is one of my go-to lenders, local in Lake County, and he answers his phone all the time.
Hey, you answer the phone, you get the deal. That's how this works.
It is how it works. Actually, this is the biggest thing I think about our industry is how much it takes a team to make sure we get to the closing table.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you got to go local. You got to work with the best people you know in the area that can get the job done and pick the phone up.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons we want to do a podcast is to bring on these professionals here in Lake County that get the deal done, the guys that are working in the background, that make it happen, just influential people that are making a difference in this community, but you can also work with them. You can trust them. You know that you're in good hands, and you've got a team. You got the realtor, you got the mortgage, all of those things in one. And I think we're looking for that as a community here in Lake County. Where can we do that at? And this is what this podcast is really about.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, we were just talking about it earlier where, if there's something going on, because every file, there's always that one thing that needs the team to come together to make sure it's taken care of. And when you call me, I'm going to pick the phone up. Whereas if it's a lender, online only lender, or they're in another state, another time zone, God forbid, then it might be a little bit rough to get that deal done.
Yeah, actually, when I have buyers come to me and they already have a lender, obviously I can work with that lender, but I do stress.
Maybe vet them. Do you have the loan officer's direct phone number?
Yes. Can I please contact them on a Saturday at 7 o'clock or 10 in the morning or whatever it is? Because I know that my lender is definitely going to answer the phone. And it's really important because you're not going to get to the closing table unless you have a really good team around you. And your first part of your team, I think personally, starts with a realtor.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of the way most customers see things because they have that impulse desire. They see the house. I got to have the house. Call the realtor. Let me see it, and then they call me, and then we figure out exactly how are we paying for this thing. And then that's when I either get on the phone with them or I sit down with them in person and kind of gather all that pertinent information, figure out what their story is, if they qualify now, if they need to wait a little bit. Because for me, it's a puzzle. It's just the way my mind works. If I put the puzzle together, everything's kosher, everything gets done right, then they get a house, everybody's happy at the end of it, and everything goes smooth.
Cole, we are protecting the American dream.
We are, 100%. We really are, and in a time right now where everything is a little more stressful than it has been the last couple of years, that's crucial, to protect that.
Yeah, I think we all at this table have a huge responsibility. I'm covering their protection of their roof, like covering their home, right? And then
Absolutely.
She's covering the buyer and the seller, and then you're covering the financial situation of it.
Yeah, I mean, I see the roof come up in almost every deal right now with the changes that are happening with homeowners insurance. We're seeing some companies pull out of the state or they're not doing roofs over 10 years old. So that issue comes up more and more.
Yeah, so let's talk about roofing real quick because that's my favorite topic here. And I know it's a big topic here in real estate. So one of the things that we have that's unique in roofing right now is you don't always have to replace your roof. So yes, if it's 15 years old, you're going to have your insurance kind of banging on your door saying, hey, we want you to replace it. But if you have a good roof, you can actually rejuvenate that roof. And what it is a natural oil that we spray back into the roof that brings it back to life.
Breathe some life into it.
Yeah, breathe some life. It's all natural. It doesn't hurt the shingle. It doesn't hurt the property. It's a natural oil that really brings it back to life so that you can get more life out of it and you don't have to buy a new roof. And it's a quarter of the price of a new roof system. So there are options out there. It's just whether you're aware of it or not as a homeowner.
Well, I wonder how that works with homeowners insurance and lending and all that. Like, I haven't dealt with somebody who did a roof rejuvenation yet.
So for the big four loan programs, conventional, FHA, VA, and USDA, that's 90% of the market. They want to see for all three of those government loans a roof that is good quality. That's what a roof inspection will say. Good, not poor, not fair. Good, and has 5 years life left. That's what they want to see. When it comes down to will the insurance be okay with it, that'll be determined by the company.
Yeah, so that's where we come in. We have an expert panel for that where we have an inspection process that actually vets that and makes that happen for that homeowner. So, in the past they would ask, like, can you get more life out of that roof? And we would say, yeah, maybe you could get this much. But now we know we can spray it and we can guarantee it. And that's a difference with the spray versus not having it.
And I think that's what ultimately will turn the insurance companies, as this becomes more of a common thing, once they get underwriting guidelines that discuss it, it'll become more popular. A quarter of the cost, I can't blame them. Not at
Yeah,
all.
quarter of the cost, and you're not filling the landfills with debris. It's actually saving the environment. It's good all the way around. It's an easy process. You don't have to have all the banging and the noise of a new roof put on your house. It's just in and out in a day.
The nails in the yard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff
I
that
think
goes with roofing.
this just goes to show how important it is to set up a good team, not only in the community. I mean, even in the community, like you might have friends that need something like this, or maybe you're not buying a house, but maybe you know somebody who's a loan or whatever. Everybody's connected.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and for me, on a personal level, I want to work with people who care. If you live here, I know you care. Because you want the community to improve. Like I've been here my whole life. I'm 6 generations, I think, people that lived in Lake County, Florida. So I give back to the community a lot. I'm involved with charity, and a lot of the things that we're trying to strive and to ask for is the customers working with us, just trying to do a good job, really. And I know that you'll do a good job. I know that Jason will do a good job because you guys are here. You're from here.
Yeah, so the community is where it all comes together. And we talk about charity. I know we've done some charity together. It's a big part of who we are because it does a lot more for us than actually the person receiving it, right? It helps our team. It builds our team. It shows that we care about the community, but also we're being significant in people's lives. And that's really the purpose of what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to piggyback off of that, I mean, I remember, gosh, I think it was February, March of 2020 when we did our roof together on a property that my nonprofit Giving Back, had a needy family. We ended up doing the whole house inside and out, and Eustace Roofing very kindly donated a roof to them. It was very kind, very nice.
Now you guys have another one coming up now.
Yeah. So we did another house in July of this year, and we're working on taking applications and starting to review people for our 23 project.
How do people get their application in with you?
Yeah, so right now the way that we have it working is that I kind of work on a vouching for you kind of thing. So our coffee chat group, our real estate group that meets over on Thursday in Mount Dora at Serendipity, we always sit down, and if they have a case, they have somebody they want to bring forward that needs it, the whole group votes. We kind of determine if the need is real, because I mean that was a big concern. I mean I remember hearing horror stories from a few of my friends at Habitat for Humanity and a few of them other places where they'd say they had a need. You'd go out there and it's like, man, that's a really nice Mercedes.
We've had this happen, yeah.
And that's the hard part. You got to kind of be that judge, and that's a hard position to be in because people get upset, if they're not picked. So I try to have somebody within our group that kind of reaches out and kind of vouch for them and say, this is a legitimate need.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important things is that you're actually helping somebody in need. They're working, they're trying, they're doing everything they can, or their situation might be that they can't, but you're able to help them. Yeah. But for me, one of the coolest things is partnering with other people of the same thing. Like they all want to help somebody so that we can build a connection with you guys. But also like it helps us keep doing that. Because sometimes you get wore out or you get taken advantage of sometimes when you're giving. Yeah,
it's a real
and it
concern.
Can affect you giving more. And so what we have to do is put that aside. And if we can do that as a team, it helps keep that going.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we partnered with a couple of other businesses in the area for like flooring and other supplies and stuff, and really just everybody coming together to make sure that if that family was taken care of was fantastic. The family in July, that was fantastic. So we call it giving back because I know it sounds a little lame, but because we're giving back. A little on the nose there.
Yeah, we really enjoyed that last project because the homeowner had lost their job from COVID, I believe.
Yeah, so there was a number of things. So the family in particular, it was a boyfriend and girlfriend. They were engaged to be married. His dad had died. And so that emotionally that put him in a bad place. His fiance had lost her job due to COVID. She worked in the tourist industry down in Orlando, and they got hit so hard. So they went down to one income. They had first-time home buyers. They had just bought this house, and then 1, 2, and 3 broke. So we all came together, and I remember one day we had, I think 30 people out there with paint rollers. Like you guys take that room, you guys take that room, and I think she's here today. A good friend of mine, Emily Spann from Magnolia Closings, was in the bathroom. She's like, I got this. She goes in there and she paints everything, and she did a really good job.
Oh, she was painting the bathroom.
She was painting the bathroom. Yeah,
She was in the bathroom.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, you can do 2 things at once sometimes.
Yeah. We painted the bathroom very good.
So Emily, while we're talking about Emily, we were actually talking today about how crypto is changing our industry a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's something that you guys work with?
Yeah, absolutely. So what it comes down to is that it's an asset. You know, the way that we have to handle assets is I have to prove you own the asset and that it didn't come from an illegal source. So like, that's why you can't use cash in most cases. So as long as you can get me some kind of a statement, has your name, the account number, and I can follow that money, you can definitely use it. Usually what happens is like a stock, you sell the crypto, gets transferred over into your account as cash, or if you have an account with your crypto account that will let you kind of treat it like a checking, it'll wire directly to title. It's 100% okay. Most title companies don't have the ability to process crypto, with the exception of like Magnolia Closings I happen to know.
Well, let's bring them in and let's ask some questions about it.
Sounds good to me.
Sorry, we don't have one mic back and forth here, okay?
Right, right.
There you go.
I'll keep the headset on.
There you go. There you are.
She'll hear us.
I can hear you guys.
The echo's messing with me a little.
Ready?
Okay, Emily, tell us how crypto works in your title company.
Oh, so we had to get certified, and we are one of the few title companies in Central Florida that can close cryptocurrency. We have a system. We use it. We have a cryptocurrency, I don't know how to, almost like a coach that has taught us how to use the system and everything. We can even help you.
Oh, the expert that came in and did that class.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
Tony, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
so he helps us with that. And if there's any kind of wording that needs to be on the contract, if anyone ever has any questions, has a client that wants to close in crypto or has questions, they can just call our office and speak to anyone. And the girls can also get them connected to the coach that we use.
Yeah, so I was thinking about that. It's probably something that you should do ahead of time so you can kind of find out what's the best crypto wallet or the crypto area, like the company to go with that makes it the easiest transition. So there might be one of those companies. So is it a good idea to kind of reach out to you before that process starts?
Yes, especially if your client is talked about closing in crypto, because sometimes the seller won't accept that, but we have the system to be able to turn it into U.S. dollars for
Yeah.
that seller to take the proceeds.
And what I find is it's just simply a lack of education on the topic. You know, I mean, crypto in general, you say that to anybody who's, you know, maybe you say 50 or older, they didn't grow up around computers. It's kind of a foreign concept. They're like, what is that, monopoly money?
Yep.
You know, but it is legal tender. You just got to know how to use it. You got to know how to convert it and get it processed.
Yep.
Wow, we
And
got
it's
professionals right here in Lake County that can do that.
Yeah,
We're
absolutely.
right here. Let us know if you have any questions.
Wow, that's awesome. Do you get a lot of questions on that, Bernie?
No, not yet. I mean, I think it's starting to become more of like a conversation right now,
Absolutely.
but it is all over the news too. Like people are losing money in crypto. So it's creating a conversation, but then to be able to say like, yeah, I have a team that can handle that.
Absolutely.
If you have crypto and you want to buy a house, I got you.
So you could be the crypto realtor of Lake County?
I guess so.
There you go. Yeah. Well, you know, and I'd say that most crypto transactions, when I was talking to their expert, most of them are cash, for lack of a better word, because a lot of them are really large wallets. So they're paying cash. They prove they have the money in the crypto account, and then I can't speak to how long it takes, but I know it's only a few weeks, if that, processes it and gets it closed, just like a cash deal.
Gosh, so it's like income.
Yeah, it is.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it's like a modern version of having a stock portfolio, you know, but a little more volatile.
Wow. Unique way to buy a house. You can
so
use your
interesting.
crypto.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a good read.
Oh my gosh. And especially for Lake County, I feel like we're usually 10 steps behind everyone else.
You know, it's part of our small town vibe, and I do tend to love that. But it's good to make sure that you're the expert in what's going to be cutting edge tomorrow.
Absolutely. I love that. I'm so glad that I have a team in Lake County that offers these really cool things that are coming out that I think maybe even other counties that probably don't offer.
You know, I think the farther west we go, the less likely they are to offer it. Yeah. You know, when you get Orlando, I'm sure it's popular, but it's a major metropolitan. You know, that makes sense. You're going to have more of that there.
Absolutely.
Well, so when we talk about that, there's also a way to learn more about that, because I know that you do the tip of the day on Facebook a lot of times. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because you could talk about crypto. I know it's becoming more of a topic, but what are some of the topics that you talk about for the tip of the day, and when do you usually release that?
So I usually do what I call the mortgage tip of the day, usually Monday or Tuesday. I usually put them on my TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and they're usually just a really short, maybe 15, 20 second, just a tip. You know, usually they're inspired by things that actually happen, you know, so like if I have somebody who maybe they quit their job right before closing or something like that, you know, that maybe not do that. Maybe if they deposit cash, that can be a monkey wrench. My job ultimately is to get you to the finish line. So you want to have an open, honest communication with me, with the realtor, in order to get that to happen. So like when I do a mortgage tip, I'm sitting down and I'm thinking, how can I give somebody just a quick 20-second, this is the best thing off the top of my head in order to do. So like if you're doing, say, a lot of job hopping, as an example, and I get this a lot with linemen, linemen follow the money, they always do. And I love it when I hear I have a lineman, because they usually make very good money. And that means it's usually a really well qualified buyer, but if they've had 12 employers, which is not unheard of, especially around hurricane season, 4 linemen over the course of a 2-year period, that's a lot of hopping. So usually my tip for them is to make sure you document everything. Have all your W-2s. If you worked for the government, like when a lot of them did for Maria when they sent to Puerto Rico, give me something. Give me something that showed that history. Because if I can show that you had a good reason for the job hop, it's not a no, it just means paperwork. There's a lot of lenders that may not want to go the extra mile to get that done. Oh, you've had 12 jobs, well, technically that's a no. No, that's what we call a manual underwrite, which means I need documentation to support that decision. It was a good decision because every time I went, I got $1 raise or a $5 raise or something like that. That's what my tips are centered around. It's common mistakes people make and how to correct them.
Wow, that's really good information, because that could actually depend on whether you get your dream house or not. If you got the right mortgage broker that can help you do that, like some might not even understand that path. And so if you have knowledge of that, you could actually get somebody that dream house.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when before I got into mortgages, I was working at Lowe's and, stacking tile and carpet and all that stuff. That's what I did before in sales. And when I got into the business, I had no idea. I mean, why would I know? I'd never bought a house before. I never did real estate, and I loved so much of it. It really is a puzzle. I mean, there's so many different things to keep track of, to read, but it's my job to know that. Your job in terms of the customer is to come to me, tell me what you want, what you need. Give me your situation. Be honest with me. Some things can be a little embarrassing credit-wise. It's okay. I have heard worse, I promise. Talk to me about it so that I can guide you. Because if it's not now, maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's 2 years. My job is to get you there.
Wow.
And I think lending is so important because that's the first step that my buyer has to take. Like if you want to see a property, that's great. I will show you. But,
how are you going to pay for it?
How are you going to pay for it? It's really important. So, it's first you need to call your lender and make sure we can do this. And if not, what are the steps we're going to take the next 6 months to a year to make sure we can make this happen for you?
So the two differences I want to kind of point out real quick is that everybody knows what a pre-qual and what a pre-approval is, but a lot of times they use the words interchangeably. They are not really the same thing. So a pre-qualification, we had a phone call. We had a conversation. I gathered your information. I ran your credit. Based on what you said and your credit report, I think we're fine. I'll go ahead and give you the letter. You can put in an offer. That's what most, say, internet companies issue, because it's easy, it's fast, it gets in business. Who cares if they fall through later? A pre-approval letter is very, very strong. It means that I have reviewed your driver's license, social security card, tax returns, bank statements, W-2s, all of it, pay stubs. I have gone through every penny of your overtime, and I know over the last 24 months you've made exactly that. So there's no variable left to oops or to mess up, because when you inevitably find a house, the insurance is going to be higher than you expected. There's going to be something. You're going to have a repair cost you've got to come up with. You're going to have all these other variables, but if you're on the edge of the knife because you had a lender that approved you at the max ratio to get your business, that's a problem, because that means that it goes over by $20 on terms of your monthly payment. You don't get that house anymore. You just spend all that money on the inspections, the appraisal. You hope you get your escrow back. Don't put your customer through that because you got a lazy lender.
Wow. I was going to ask you what makes you different as a mortgage company, but I think you've explained that.
Sorry, I tend to ramble a little bit. Yeah, I mean, not every customer is going to want to give me everything right up front, and that's fine. That's their choice. Most of the time, it's a judgment call for me. If I've got somebody with an 800 credit score, 20% down, they got retirement income, that's a no-brainer. Absolutely all day, because they probably know their numbers. If I've got somebody who, for example, is self-employed. Self-employed people filed their taxes, and that's where their income comes from. So if you've got a Schedule C as a sole proprietorship, an S Corp, any of those things, your income's derived from that, because you don't get a W-2, you don't get a pay stub. So it's not your gross income, it's your net. So if you gross $300,000 for your business, that's fantastic. If you netted 10 grand, that's your income.
Wow.
Now, there are other loan program options. You can do like a bank statement loan to kind of circumvent that. But if you go outside the box, you pay for it. More money down, higher interest rate. So I try to keep you in the box if at all possible.
So if you're in the market and you're looking to buy a house, probably one of the first visits you should have is with your mortgage,
Absolutely.
right? You're not necessarily going to go to your bank, but maybe you first. And do homeowner buyers, or do they usually go to the realtor first, or they usually go to you?
I would say 90% of people probably go to the realtor first. It's that desire, and I want to fill that desire, that impulse that most people have.
Want to see the house?
I want to see the house.
I mean, that's what I prefer, because I want you to work with my team, because I know we're going to get you to the
because
closing table.
Nobody wants to have, especially if they know that their lives, and nobody's life's been easy, if they've had that rocky shore, they may not want to talk to me before they've fallen in love, which is risky, because there's been a couple of conversations that I've had to be that bad guy, but if you just finished your bankruptcy, probably don't need to call me right now.
Wow. Good information if you're buying a house. What about a new home? Like if I want to build a house, are you somebody that I want to come and see, or do I want to see the builder? How does that work?
Oh, no, you still come and see me first.
The realtor. Yeah,
See the
always.
realtor. See the realtor first. So
Yes, we represent you in new construction.
Does it cost you anything if you see a realtor?
No,
on a
it
new
actually
construction?
doesn't cost anything. And it creates a buffer between you and the contractor. So if you're having issues, that contractor is going to make sure that that realtor is happy too, because
Absolutely.
they don't want a bad reputation in the industry. As if they're just working with the buyer.
Well, and there's a lot of times that people, they kind of have that, well, do I need a realtor I don't need them to show me the house, but everybody forgets that realtors, one of their big jobs is negotiating and understanding the contract, deadlines and things like that. I've seen builder contracts, and a standard Florida FAR bar is 12, 13 pages. Builder contracts are anywhere from 35 to 60 pages, because they have everything under the sun to protect them, as they should. But you need to understand what you're signing. And although none of us here are attorneys by any stretch of the imagination, a realtor is going to have your back and be better able to educate you. on those kinds of
Yeah,
things.
and stand up for you. Sometimes you feel like a lone voice when you're building a home. If you have a realtor that's there standing up for you, you have somebody that's going to that contractor for you, or fighting for you, or making sure those deadlines are met, and making sure that contract's being held, where it's supposed to be. But it's a little bit different in lending.
Absolutely. So if you're trying to build a new home, you're doing new construction, you've got two ways of going about it. And essentially the decision comes down to, do you want to live in an HOA, or do you want to build on your own land? So most of the big builders who have like the community, they do the infrastructure, they've got deep pockets. So they are paying for that construction from start to finish. So when you buy their home, that's a regular mortgage. That's a regular conventional FHA, what have you. If you're going to be building on your own dirt, you own the land. So it's no builder in their right mind is going to risk money out of their own pocket on a piece of property they don't own. And that's what it comes down to. So you end up going typically to a bank. We don't offer the what's called construction to permanent financing option, but most small town banks, there's a couple in this area that do an excellent job of it. They will take care of you. It's usually somewhere between a 9-month and they say a year, but right now I'd say 18 months project in order to get everything done.
Yeah, so one of the things I just learned from that is like, just hire a realtor. She's going to walk you through. She's going to have the professionals that she trusts or he trusts that they can actually inspect the house if you need to, or it's not going to cost you anything.
Well,
it's just someone protecting you.
Yeah, absolutely. Because especially right now, there's still so many people moving down here from up north. I mean, if you're doing a sight unseen on a new construction, unless you got family here, and I would rely on a professional more than I would rely on them.
They're also going to help you with the pricing too, right?
Absolutely.
You don't want to
We
get
negotiate.
Yeah, negotiate, but
Yeah.
maybe the house is priced too much and you don't know it, but the realtor's going to know it.
Realtor will know it because they're in the market.
Well, there's even more to negotiate than just price sometimes too. And people
Upgrades
don't
and
realize
add-ons.
that. Absolutely. Upgrades, even closing when you want to close if you have a pre-existing home, or, sometimes that seller has to get out sooner or they need to stay a little longer. There's a lot of things you can do when you work with a realtor as opposed to just doing your own thing.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you, so this is everywhere you look right now, the market is changing.
Oh man, it changes all the time.
So
Yeah.
how is it changing for you guys? Because I feel
Yeah.
like it was so busy. You guys were so busy, but it was hard for people to buy a home. So then you were doing so much busy work.
Yeah, so I mean, just like how most realtors do, we work for free a lot. A lot of free advice. And the hope is that investment in the people that do honor us with their phone call will call us back when they're finally ready or they can afford it. But what happened this year, as most people know, interest rates went up. made it harder for typical buyers to afford a home. So yeah, things definitely slowed down. The Fed is scheduled to raise rates again in December, right around Christmas. Merry Christmas. Thank you, Fed.
Perfect.
But it's supposed to be the last time they raise, and well, they have no announcements currently to raise next year. So we're going to be kind of idling. I don't have a crystal ball, but my prediction is that we've kind of already, lenders don't like losing money on any level. So what they tend to do is they tend to ramp up the pricing to match, if not exceed, what they think the market's going to do. So they don't just one day shoot to the moon. They kind of gradually move it up so that everything works out, and it's not just a giant explosion on the day. I think that's likely what's going to happen in December. We are starting to gradually raise again. We had a nice drop around Thanksgiving, which was fantastic. We had a couple people lock in for that. But I think that spring is going to make or break us. So for those of you who don't know, last year, I think it was 2020, the tax refunds for a lot of the families were paid out monthly. They weren't paid out when they filed their taxes at the beginning of the year for 22, so it would have been 21. So a lot of the families that, they got 3 or 4 kids, they get 8 or 10 grand every year. So a lot of times the families that can afford the payment but don't have the cash could buy a house. That's why spring's our second busiest time of the year. We do 30% of our volume for the entire year in March, April, and May. It's a fantastic time because now those people can buy. They couldn't this past spring because they were paid what they would have got all last year through some of the acts that were passed. So coming into the spring this year, that's not the case anymore. So with that rise in demand, knowing they're going to have the money, I predict that interest rates will start going down a little bit. Now, when I say down, I mean leveling off, maybe between 5 and 6.5. That's reasonable. You can work with that. 7 and 8% can go away and stay there.
Yeah, but for the rest of the country, where are we at here in Lake County? I feel like we're still in Florida in general, but I feel like we're still a pretty strong market for the rest of the country.
I agree with you. So I think that Florida, to a degree, is going to be shielded, if not entirely shielded, but I think they will take less of an impact than, say, a lot of the Northeast states. A lot of the states that were hit very hard by COVID, a lot of the states that had people fleeing and coming down here and paying cash. They'd sell their house for $700,000. It's a 3.2 in, say, New York. Come down to Florida, they're paying cash, same house, it's a $300,000. So, I mean, we're in that position now where you've got all this mass migration to Florida, and demand will beat out some of the other issues. Now, states like New York and some of the ones up there, they're going to have the reverse effect because all the demand is coming down here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we saw that. So because I'm in roofing, we saw that with metal roofing, right? So it just blew up metal roofing because people had the money.
They had the
so
cash.
they would come from a northern state where their house was valued at a lot more. They'd move down here and have all this leftover money, and they want to put a roof on, and they're like, well, we're definitely paying for metal roofing. And so for us, metal roofing is huge right now because they want to make that home better, and they're going with metal because they have the money.
Yeah, a lot of them move their retirement up or what have you. So they're like, I'm buying a roof, or I'm buying the house, I'm buying the rate that I will have forever.
But they're worried about the hurricanes too. So these northern folks, they come down here and they're like, well, I don't want my roof to blow away. I'm going to go with a metal roof, and we're there to meet that need for sure.
I had a couple of people that came over from California that came over here who don't have hurricanes, and they got to experience 2 in a row, and they were like, man, I kind of miss earthquakes. I'm like, well,
really?
What?
To us, it's like everyday thing now.
Yeah,
we kind
of
well, I mean, we have some
grown
bad
up around it.
thunderstorms in May and in June that are worse than some of the tropical
I
storms.
agree.
Absolutely.
I have seen some lightning storms that scare me worse than any hurricane that come through here.
We'll get some nasty heat lightning or some wind that comes over, tornado will pop up, and like, oh, well, here we go.
I love the coolness that hurricane brings in every time. I look forward to it.
Yeah, it was like 45, 50 degrees, or maybe not that cold. It was
beautiful.
50 or 60 degrees. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're in a really good place here in Lake County. We don't really see the huge effects of a hurricane like you do on the coastline. It's actually not too bad here for what most people think. This is a great area to live.
We're pretty central, yeah. I mean, we're roughly 50 miles from the east and maybe 80 or 90 miles from the west, something like that. So we're about as central as it gets.
So we'll get it if it comes from both sides.
Yeah, well, and I love living in Lake County because we have so many places for the water to go. You know, running downhill. Mount Dora was officially my hometown, and I think there's some 200 feet above sea level, and I'm like, it's not a lot, but that counts.
Yeah, it makes a difference. We have a lot of lakes here. Brittany's doing Deck the Docks here soon, which is
I saw that.
Yeah.
I hear about that.
I'm super excited. You know, I love being on the lake. It's
I
like,
do. Your event in July was fantastic.
yeah. Oh, yes. You know what? I actually want to talk about that because Cole and Cole's wife is also a realtor and she works with me. And I think that's got to be actually something that you might have to overcome sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes that happens.
I would assume
it'd
that
be hard to live with a realtor. Yeah.
build,
Yeah. Well, realtors are.
building a relationship and the loyalty, you know, obviously your wife's a realtor and then you're working with other realtors, you know, that's got to be, is that hard for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was at first. You know, she's been licensed now for about 4 years, going on almost 5. You know, and you know, there were some realtors that as soon as she got her license and they found out, they stopped doing business with me.
Right.
Wow.
They 1,000% stopped. And their argument was that if they ever ended up in a situation where I was the lender, she had the buyer, and they were the listing agent, they couldn't know that I was on their side. That was their response. And I'm like, well, I mean, we've been working together for a long time. If that's the way you feel, that's the way you feel. But
How did you cultivate that loyalty back again? Because, I
well,
mean,
there were some people that came back around. There were some people that I never got to work with again, you know, but when it came down to it, what could I do? You know, I could just continue to provide excellent service and
Right.
hope that they didn't, you know, hold my wife deciding to join the real estate community against me.
I would say that Cole and Sarah really, I feel like, take community over competition very seriously in Lake County.
Yeah, you know, I mean, we do our best. I mean, my wife's from here too, you know, and we do our darndest, sorry. We do our darndest to try to give back to the community.
But you do, and you show up, and like you showed up to my Lake Quest event, which I was kind of blown away by, to be honest, because, well, Sarah works in my office, and, you know, I didn't really know you that well at the time. But feeling support in the community from people who really kind of are your competition, but they're not in a way.
You know, so I hate that word. You know, competition breeds excellence, and I agree with that. But if everybody is your competition, you have no friends.
Well, that's what I mean. I think
you know.
you placed the community over any competition, and you guys showed up. We had a great time. You know, obviously, it was still my event. Nobody tried to hijack it. Not that I thought you would.
I still have your face cut out in my kitchen, stuck in the mailbox. I need to turn it
put
around.
mine
It
in the
scares my
trash.
children.
It's a genius marketing idea.
No,
I think that was
it
the best
really-
marketing
it
idea I've
really
ever
was.
had.
I mean, literally, as far as the eye could see, Brittany.
Pictures of my face.
Yeah, so if anybody doesn't know, it was a treasure hunt on the lakes
It
out
was-
here.
it was-
And you had to use Brittany's face as a picture that you went to that place.
to
It was
prove
really
you were
fun.
there.
Yeah, you had to prove you were there, and I had this huge cutout of my face, and you had to take pictures of it and then post it on Facebook. So for like a week, you could open up Facebook, and it's just
There
my
she
face
was.
everywhere.
Yeah, there she was. Yeah.
You may not know my name, but you definitely know,
You know
my
I've
face.
seen you somewhere before.
Yeah.
I can't put my finger on
I
it.
haven't gotten that yet. I am waiting for I've seen you before, so we'll see what happens. But
But now we're doing Deck the Docks, which
Mm-hmm.
is where there's Christmas lights on the docks. And we can kind of find out who's got the best lit up dock in Lake County because everybody loves
Makes
the
me wish I
water.
was living on a lake.
I wish I was living on a lake too.
Yeah.
But I still your lakefront specialist.
Yeah.
I do technically live on the lake since I love it so much, on it all the time.
Yeah, there you go.
But I love Lake County because the lakes really do bring us together.
No, I mean they really do. I mean, gosh, I don't even know the number, but I mean, we have cities here called Grand Island that are not an island, but they're surrounded by so many lakes that if you look at it on a map, you cut off one side or the other, they're done.
Yeah, I think
a good
there's
point.
seven in our Harris Chain of Lakes, and it gets you all the way out to the Atlantic, which is really
Yeah, you can take the locks right up to the St. John's. And
Silver Springs.
Yeah,
we take it
Silver
up to
Springs.
Silver Springs.
I have a realtor friend of mine that he lives in Umatilla, and I only ever see him for 6 months of the year. He's retired. He makes all of his money for those 6 months selling real estate, and then he hops on his boat.
Goals.
He takes it through all the locks to St.
Oh
John's,
my
down to
gosh.
Key West, and he's there until he blows all
Is
his
he
money.
single?
No, I'm sorry.
So I wanted to talk about something real quick. Swing back on the new construction real quick, and I was thinking we could make a clip out of this, Patrick. But as a roofer, new construction, this is something I see a lot in roofing. One of the number one roofs that we repair are new construction homes. It's insane. And so here's what I wanted to tell homeowners that are looking at new construction homes. I would choose my roofer or be involved in it, and I'll tell you why. because you're going to get a 40-year warranty.
You can't.
40 years.
You can't choose your roofer.
Hold on. Sometimes you can. We actually have homeowners that call the builder and say, hey, I want to use Eustace Roofing. And they'll say, well, it could be a little bit more money, but we can do that.
Let me tell you, because I went to one
But I
of
wanna
them
tell you
and
why.
I said, I want to use Eustace Roofing. That's my family.
So what you have to do
I
is,
probably should have said the
and
last
you
part.
may be going on to this, is that like as a lender wise, you have to check to see if they're on their approved vendor list for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's what we see a lot. So I want to let homeowners know this to protect them. So we see a lot of new construction roofs leak a lot, right? And here's the thing that the homeowners don't understand. When they buy the house, whether it be the realtor or the builder, they hand them a warranty over and it says 40-year warranty on the roof. That's a 40-year warranty from the manufacturer for defects. Okay, so the problem with that is if usually the installation warranty is what really matters, right? So if you get a leak after year one, you got to pay out of pocket to fix that leak. You don't really have a 40-year warranty on that roof. It's false. That is not true. And usually you have 1 year warranty on the roof if it leaks. Sometimes you get a 5. But what you really want to know is what's the warranty with the company that put it on. But here's another key thing to it. The manufacturer is not going to fix your roof in the first 20 years, probably the first 15 years, unless it is an actual defect with the roof. So if you have a leak
That you can prove.
and that's the next thing I want to tell people. What the manufacturer is going to do is find a way out of that usually. So what they'll say is the roof wasn't installed correctly, so we don't have to give you that warranty. So the 40-year, 50-year warranty that you're receiving on your new construction roof, that's defects. And it doesn't cover if you have a leak or an issue like that. And the reason I say that is we have the largest repair department in the state fixing these roofs.
Wow.
So you want to know who the roofer was. So when you're disconnected with that builder down the road, you can reach out to that roofer. But I always tell homeowners, we get it all the time, especially in custom homes where they come in and say, we want to use Eustace Roofing to put our roof on. It is a good decision because you're going to get a warranty from us and the manufacturer as one.
Yeah, well, what I tell customers all the time with new construction is just because it's new construction doesn't mean it's good construction.
That's right.
You know, you want to get a home inspection done, even though it's brand new. You know, yeah, just because it got its CO from the county, it doesn't mean that maybe it's going to meet your standards or even, standards that you should really be looking for.
Yeah, and sometimes we see like a cheaper brand shingle, stuff like that. On if you're building a ton of homes, they can get a better deal on it. One of the things that I always recommend is the manufacturer's warranty. There's upgrades, and they're very cheap. So when we talk about CertainT, they have what's called a 3-star, 4-star, and a 5-star warranty. The number one warranty I would get if I was a homeowner is the 5-star warranty. The reason I'm going to tell you that is if the roofer goes out of business, they still cover the warranty of the roof. Your warranty is through them, but it also covers installation. So if there's a problem with installation, it's still covered. So it's a really good warranty, and I think people should look into that when they're buying a house is the extended warranty. It's just like going to Lowe's when I buy a dishwasher. I am buying the extended warranty because I guarantee you I'll change it out.
I've only ever not bought the extended warranty one time, and you know what? 12 months, and I'm not even kidding, 12 months and like 6 days, it broke.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it didn't. I bought our new house last year, put the dishwasher in, literally 12 months in like a week, and it was dead.
Of course.
Wow.
Now, what if you can't put on the roof? Do you inspect it for them?
Yeah, so I would get an inspection from a roofer.
From a roofer, not
Yeah.
just an inspector.
Yeah, so inspectors are great, but they really don't know as much about a roof. It's just like having a brain surgeon do heart surgery. It doesn't work, okay? So an inspector is overall, and they're great, and they catch a lot of things, and there are some really good ones that are maybe better than roofers sometimes. But I would actually get a roofer because if something goes wrong, you can kind of go back to that and say, hey, you inspected this. I see an issue. How come you didn't see it? But a lot of times people don't understand this too, is some of the issues with the roofing happened before the roof got put on and your flashings and your detail work that you can't see anymore. So that's why I always say it's super
a lot of times
important.
the problems are the things you can't see.
Yep. Yep. So sometimes I can get on a roof and I can say overall the roof looks good, but I can't see underneath it without pulling the roof apart. And so I can't really give you all the good health report on it, but I can tell you from what I can see, it looks good. So that's kind of how that works. But we see that all the time. That's why I wanted to mention it. I don't want you to buy something new and then have a problem in a year and not know what to do. And I would always say that the roof is going to be an expense that you're going to face down the road, especially with what we're seeing with insurance, making you replace that roof every 15 years. So that's something to think about, that 40-year. So you got a 40-year warranty, but your insurance is going to make you replace the roof in 15 years.
So you need the 40-year warranty.
So keep that in mind if you're buying a home. It's like you said, with a new home doesn't mean it's going to be a great home just because it's new.
Yeah. New construction doesn't mean good construction.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Good quote.
Yeah,
Cool.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that's it for today. I think we're going to do many more. We got a lot to talk about, especially your tips of the day. They're great. Bernie with the realtor advice. I think if you're buying a home, if you're looking for a mortgage, or now if you're looking for new construction, you know the route that you can go. You can choose a realtor. You don't even have to pay extra to have a realtor on a new construction home. That's a huge tip.
And you know, there's a lot of buyers, you know, that don't even know that the realtor is actually a cost for the seller. You know, so I've had customers,
Yes.
new construction, first-time home buyers that don't want to use a realtor because they're under the impression they have to pay them. You know, whereas typically speaking, that is a cost for the seller. So I mean, the kind of the example I usually give people is like it'd be like if you were getting a divorce and you used your wife's attorney. You know, have your own representation.
Like it.
You know,
Absolutely.
have somebody in your corner who's negotiating for you, who knows what you need, and because otherwise they're just a mediator. You know, and ultimately they represent the seller.
Yep. The seller pays us, the buyer does not.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to be a buyer and pay me, I will take it.
She'll take it.
You
either
actually,
way.
you can. Like, I
You
mean,
can.
there's been
I have
properties
seen
that
it.
pop up. Yeah. And
Yeah.
if I have somebody who's interested in a piece of property, but it's not for sale, I can call. Either that buyer can pay my percentage, or you guys can split it, the buyer and the seller.
Yeah, you know, and I have seen that. There's a lot of larger brokerages that have a buyer's agreement that make them sign.
Yes,
you know,
I used to do that,
you know,
yes.
and I just had one about probably 6 months ago now where it said they ended up buying a house from a flat fee, you know, where the seller was only paying like $1,000 to one agent, $1,000 to the other. But the buyer's agreement said that if that happens, then the buyer is owed, or the buyer's agent is owed 2%, I think. You know, so
They're going to get paid.
They're gonna
Those
get
flat
paid.
fees are hard for us to show. Well, they're not hard to show.
They are,
But they give such a low percentage, and then they take even money out of that sometimes. So you
Well,
make.
And what I've always tried to caution buyers on when they're in that situation is they need to make sure they have the money, because there's so many situations right now where the buyer is struggling to buy the house, let alone pay the agent.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely.
the agent doesn't need to be the reason you didn't get the house.
Cool.
Yep.
A lot of great information today, guys. Tune in again. You can check out if you're looking for a house and you're in real estate, or if you want to find out some leaders here in Lake County, check out the podcast, The Real LLC, Lake Life and Culture here. Closing out. Thanks, guys, for joining.